I'm AC Brown, and you're listening to Is My Aura On Straight, a podcast designed to help you start living from your core instead of your conditioning. Each week, we'll discuss topics ranging from human design, astrology, metaphysics, spiritual self-development, and everything in between. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Is My Aura On Straight. I am your host, AC Brown, and I am your spiritual doula, intuitive strategist, and human design expert, and I'm also an entrepreneur, and I want to thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Is My Aura On Straight. This episode and the next couple of episodes are going to be a little bit different as I'm talking about something that we don't talk about a lot in human design, and it is the not self. And we must deal with the not self. The not self is the part of us that we struggle with the most before we come to human design, and probably when we are in our beginning stages of human design. Our deconditioning process is super important. So the next couple of shows will focus on the not self for each aura type. But today we are starting with manifestors, the angry birds, as I call manifestors. And I'm going to probably do this out of order. I like to do things in order, but I'm going to do them out of order this time. But the reason why I'm starting with manifestors first is because manifestors have the most trouble deconditioning when they find out they're manifestors. 9 times out of 10, when a manifestor finds out they're a manifestor, it is like a shock to them. They not necessarily don't resonate with it, but they have a very hard time with switching, with turning things around, because they fear being controlled, because they are not used to being empowered to inform people. So if you are confused, if you're just clicking on this one for your first time, the manifestor strategy is to inform, and that's what they're here to do, to inform and initiate. So in human design, manifestors are the only aura type that can inform, that can just do it, like the Nike moniker. So what happens with manifestors is that because they're not empowered as children, and they don't know they're manifestors because there's only 8% of you in the whole population, is that they need to practice informing with grace and ease so they aren't feeling resistance all the time. Most manifestor children, they have issues, and I talked about this on the Manifestor podcast. They have issues stepping into that power, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because, like I said, most manifestors are surprised to learn that they are manifestors because of the suppression that they've dealt with all their life. So it takes them a long time to step into that power, to be able to just do it and go there and, make things happen. And most times, not a lot of times, but most times, any manifestor that you do know, they are very opinionated. They are very loud, not in tone or voice, but loud in their presence. And that's because they have spent so many times being suppressed in their life that it becomes they need to be heard. And because they don't know that they're manifestors, they're not used to just acting and just doing what they're supposed to do. So some of the tips for manifestors is the main thing that they need to do. And when I do readings with manifestors and coach them and everything and help them with business, they need to just practice informing. Informing is a challenge for manifestors. That's where manifestors struggle the most. Manifestors will have the biggest issues, the biggest struggle in their work, business, relationships, everything, because they are afraid to inform. So how I tell manifestors the best thing for them to do, and manifestors, you can just take a mental note. This is a really great tip. Make a list of the people that your decision will impact and just inform those people. It's not for their input, but it is so you can get used to informing. So for instance, if you are a manifestor wife and your husband is not a manifestor, or even if he is a manifestor and you want to go to Target, let's say, instead of you just leaving the house and going to Target, just say, hey, hun, I'm going to Target. Don't worry about, because this is what I come across with, the question that he's going to ask of, what are you going to Target for? That's where manifestors hate people questioning their decisions. So just get into the habit of saying, I'm going to Target. Not saying you disrespectfully walk out and just be like, deuces, but just get in the habit of informing, I'm going to Target. I'll be back in 5 minutes. If they do ask you about where you're going, you can tell them, but then try and keep it just keep it really short, because you'll get frustrated when you have to go into keeping on explaining why you're doing something, how you're doing, what you're going to get, because that's where manifestors get frustrated, and that's why they don't inform. It's because they don't want the aftermath of the decisions that they're making. So they have a really, really big issue with people questioning them. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not saying that they can't be questioned or anything like that. It is just more of, imagine your whole childhood, and I've talked about this on the Manifestor podcast, and you want to do something, you want to do things, and somebody's always telling you no. And then you find out as an adult that you don't have to wait for them to tell you no. So as an adult, you get stuck in that cycle, that whole cycle of waiting, waiting for somebody to, drop the other shoe for your idea. So manifestors, a tip for you is to practice informing. Just inform the people who that decision is going to impact. Technically, you going to Target is not necessarily going to impact your significant other, but it can if something were to happen to you or if they needed something. So for manifestors, when it comes to things like that, especially in relationships, talk to your partner and tell them, hey, when I'm going to the store or going somewhere, I would really rather you maybe text me, why are you going to Target, or what are you going for? Because what happens with manifestors is that lower forms of communication help them better. So email helps them better, or a text message helps them better, but them verbally speaking, because remember, manifestors have their throat sensors are defined, and it's connected to a motor. So therefore they will have, that's sort of like draining them when they have to talk more than they really want to. So it's correct for them to lessen that a little bit, especially when manifestors are angry. So if you're a manifestor and you want to, tell your spouse, hey, I'm going to tell you I'm going somewhere. I would prefer you text me what you want. I prefer you text me what you need, or why I'm making that decision to go to the store at this moment. Because what manifestors get frustrated at is that whole process of them stopping that creative flow. And creative flow is going to the market, is going to the store. That's all a flow for them. So they get very frustrated with that break in creative flow of you questioning them, or someone asking them what you're doing while you're doing it. That frustrates the hell out of them, and that makes them angry. So, and this goes for manifestors in the workplace too, who don't work for themselves, is you have to really, email is your friend. I'm going to tell you that right now for my manifestors in the workplace. If you can send people emails, send them emails. And I'm being 100, because talking for you is going to frustrate the entire fuck out of you all the time, especially when you're having to explain yourself over and over to people where you don't really need, you need to, but you know what I'm saying. So email is your friend. So for my manifestors, email is your friend, so you don't get frustrated, because the barriers of resistance are lower when you're emailing and you're texting, because you don't have to, number one, respond to people. It can be rude, but you don't have to respond to people. And number two, you can use whatever verbiage or whatever you can in that text or email. So just keep that in mind. So how can manifestors, deal with the anger and deconditioning? Well, for one, you guys have to really stop forcing outcomes, because forcing outcomes is not informing. You have to learn how to inform people. You have to learn how to inform the people around you. It's really important. Most manifestors that I deal with and I talk to, they struggle so much because they are not empowered to inform people. And I always tell manifestors, and if you've heard it from on the podcast, if you had a reading with me, is that you are not informing people to get a reaction from them or to get a response from them. Really, you're informing them because that's the proper way for you to be. That's part of your strategy, because you're just letting them know what you're doing, what's happening next. Not for them to interrupt it, not for them to have an opinion that will affect what you're doing, but just to tell them what's happening next. So the difference is, and also too, if you're a manifestor with a defined solar plex, you have to stop being impulsive. People with defined solar plexes, we're very impulsive. I have a defined emotional solar plex. We're very impulsive. When we feel something right away, we're like, okay, let's go. Let me do it. Let me, stop being so impulsive, because that gets it interrupts you stopping to inform. Now, informing for manifestors are really important, because what it does for you is it slows you down. So it's a gift and a curse. It's like, you don't need to inform for other people's feedback, but then you need to inform so you can slow down and think about the details. It never fails, hands down, 9 times out of 10. A manifestor in a creative flow will make mistakes, because your creative flow is like it's like a high. It's like a rush where you just want to get out the material. You want to get the project done. You want to get things over with. And then what happens is that manifestors move so fast, because they're here to initiate, because they're here to inform, because they're here to be in this creative flow, that they make mistakes, like a lot of mistakes. So informing is to slow down. It's just to tell people what's happening next. And it's also a reminder for you, so you know the steps that are happening next. So you can say, okay, this is what I need to do to make this next step happen, to make that happen. Another thing that manifestors also need to do when it comes to deconditioning is you have to release how can I put this? You have to release the attachment of people being happy and cheery and like all rainbows and sprinkles about your ideas and about the things that you're doing. They are not. Because manifestors, and I've said this before, are here to inform people. That is very annoying to everyone else, especially when you don't have the people around you who are not used to you informing. And so that is another issue and a roadblock that manifestors will encounter in their life when they find out that they're manifestors, is because you spent all this time not informing people the proper way. So then when you start informing people, they're going to be like, who does this person think they're talking to? What do you mean? She's just not going to tell me what to do, because and then that's where the whole, you shrink back into your shell, like, oh, I'm a manifestor, but nobody's, hearing what I'm saying, or, I'm not here to lead. And you take this like docile kind of meek role when that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So that's why informing is so important to you, because informing does so many things for you. Number one, it helps you, the fear of being, rejected and the resistance around that. That's number one. Number two, it starts empowering you to start stepping into that power of being a leader, being that person who tells people what's going on next. And number three, it in a way, and it not saying that you're supposed to make people comfortable, but I hear it time and time again. Why don't, she doesn't like me, or people say I get on their nerves as a manifestor and all this stuff. Number three, it's so people can get used to your being. A lot of manifestors, they usually have, the same circle of friends, because those people are used to you being a manifestor without you knowing you're a manifestor. And then when you're in the outside world, out of this bubble, it's kind of like, why don't these people get me? Why don't they understand? This is just who I am. I'm just loud. I'm just, speaking my mind, all that stuff. No, you're a manifestor, and the people don't know. You're not informing them properly, and they're not used to you informing them. So that's really half of your problem. So my manifestors, you just have to learn how to inform. And the deconditioning process, and the not self, the angry part of you will be less angry. It will be less angry for you, because you just have to get into the flow. Manifestors, and I tell you this all the time, people who DM me, who email me, who I've had readings with, who are coach, help with business, all of that stuff. You are so powerful. But you have to also give yourself a little bit of grace, because your power has been stifled for a majority part of your life, especially if you're in your late 20s and early 30s, or even mid 30s, and you just find out you're a manifestor. You're going to struggle a lot. And you're going to be angry. You're going to be frustrated a lot. You're going to be very angry at people around you who don't get it. So that's why informing is so important. So I want to tell you guys, just a little bit of the 3-step process is, number one, start informing on little stuff. I mean, the dumbest things, like inform your, at work, you can inform your coworker, I'm going to get lunch. And I know that sounds crazy, but inform them on little things like that. So your coworker, for people who work in corporate America, it's just randoms, but inform them like, oh, I'm going to get lunch. If they ask you where you're going or anything like that, you can make that choice to either say where you're going, or you can just walk away. But I want you to practice learning how to inform on the little things, even just the little stuff. So if you're at home with your spouse, you just say, I'm going to Target. And then, have that conversation prior to, just text me, or you can even tell them, I'm going to Target. Just text me if you want anything, and then just leave the house if that's okay in your relationship. And then with your friends, from manifestors, you can start with little things like, oh, I'm going to this place. You want to go? Or I'm coming over your house. Are you going to be home? Yes, just do that and try that. Number 2, I want you to really think about whatever career you're in, what type of business you have. How can you make an impact? What is your voice? Where are you not showing up vocally? Where are you not really stepping into your power, into that vision that you have for yourself? So if you have your own business, or if you are an executive at a company, or if you want to transition into your own business, how can you inform people that you are the best? Where's your voice not being heard? Start with that. That's like the second layer. And the third layer is really stepping into your platform, which, that's where people come in, clients, manifestors who really need my ideation and my ideas with how to take it to the next level. But start with those basic things of telling people you're going to lunch, telling people, you're going to the store, telling people you're going to the gym, telling someone, who is affected by it, not randoms, but if you're at home, like, oh, I'm making tacos tonight, hun. Like, just leave it at that, because you have a big fear of someone saying, well, I don't want tacos, or why are you making tacos? That it just gets you in this habit of not saying anything. And then you just make tacos. And then, yes, that person might be a little like, I didn't even want tacos. Like, they're making tacos. So just keep that in mind. Informing is going to help you. Informing is going to be beneficial to you. Informing is going to help you just run your life a little bit smoother. Not for, the rest of the world, but for yourself. You'll just have so much less resistance, and you want to take the path of least resistance in this life. And if the path of least resistance is informing people, you got to start there. Because I have manifestors all the time DMing me, emailing me, and before they work with me or have a reading, like, oh, I know I'm powerful, but I don't know, I'm afraid to step into my power. And it's because you've been in this constant cycle of being rejected from, your family or your friends, or feeling like somebody's going to stop you. You're not meant to be stopped. You're meant to inform people. And there's a huge difference in that. And when you figure that out and you get that, what informing feels like in your body, how empowering that can be, versus the resistance that you're used to having. Once you get used to informing and just standing in that power, you will really have a better time in this journey that you're on, wherever you're on, wherever in the journey you are on it. Trust me, because some of the manifestors who I work with, and who I know who are used to informing in certain things, they are like kicking ass right now in their businesses, in their life, because they've just gotten used to informing. And it's just really beautiful to see them like from afar, like just like, oh my gosh, they're doing so well. Look at them just informing, and it shows up everywhere, just in their sales process, in their friendships, in their business, just in their personal life on a personal level. And it's just really, it just becomes a really good thing for them. So that's why I wanted to do you guys first, is because you have the biggest hurdle when it comes to deconditioning, is you spend so much time in that anger phase because people don't hear you, or people are not responding to you, or your energy is very repelling, because people don't understand that whole just doing it kind of thing. And so to combat that, you have to learn how to inform people and do it properly. So I hope, you have taken away some good things from this podcast. My manifestors, I'm going to be talking about the not self for all of the other aura types. So just keep a lookout. An episode, you'll get one. I'm not going to tell you, but it's coming up soon. And I'm sure eventually you'll figure out what I'm doing when my episode drops. There'll be a pattern that you'll be seeing over the next couple of weeks. And so just keep a lookout for that. Also too, if you are interested in getting a reading from me, you can go to my website to work with me. I've been really loving some of the, readings that I've been doing. Your charts are like freaking amazing, like just amaze balls. And just some of the emails that I've been getting back, especially from my just recorded readings, the 30-minute recording readings, and people saying like, oh my gosh, you were so spot on. This is me. Thank you so much. And, and all of that stuff has been really just enlightening for me. Just, I love helping people through this and just showing people how to live their lives a little bit better. So if you haven't gotten a reading from me and you want to, definitely the 30-minute recording is just a recording. Then the other two are actually just on the phone with me. And we not only talk about your chart, but we really dive deep into how to maximize some of those particular gates and things in your chart. So I love those too. New products and services coming out very soon. Just keep a lookout. Make sure you're on the email list and you're following me, and all of that stuff. And also, if you want to be on some of the newer episodes coming up, where it's going to be aura analysis, you, me, your question, a little bit of psychic intuitive stuff, a little bit of coaching, a whole lot of clarity. It'll be recorded. I'll, edit out names. Just go to the link in my bio on my Instagram page at AC Brown, fill it out, and we will chat about it. And also too, somebody had emailed me and they were like, hey, are you going to offer this as a service? And I am going to offer as a service, because some people were like, I don't want to be on your podcast regardless if my name is blocked out, but are you going to offer it as a service? And I am going to offer it as a service. If you're interested in doing an aura analysis where it's just one question, like I said, a little bit of psychic intuition, a little bit of coaching, a whole lot of clarity, based off of your chart, email me. I'm not going to put up a link yet for it. It's, and I'll send you back with information on it and pricing. It'll be like a lower offer, just to, answer that one question for you. So let me know, but make sure you follow me on Instagram. And if you have any questions, or comments, or anything, please feel free to definitely email me, but make sure you subscribe. And if you love the podcast, please rate it and leave a star or whatever. Well, not star, 1 star, leave 5 stars at least, please. But until next time, I hope you have a great day filled with good vibes and great energy. And I will talk to you all very, very, very soon. Thank you for listening to another episode of Is My Aura on Straight? Make sure you follow me on Instagram at AC Brown, and also check out my website for products and services at www.acbrown.com. And until we meet again, make sure you have a great week filled with good vibes and good energy.